The red poppy flower has become a symbol of respect for soldiers who lost their lives in war. This tradition emerged after World War I and gradually became a significant expression of honouring those who died in military service. The connection between the red poppy and war is rooted in the famous poem In Flanders Fields, written by Canadian poet John McCrae in 1915. In the poem, the red poppies that adorn soldiers' graves represent the marks of war and death. Every year on November 11th, during Remembrance Day events in the UK, millions of people wear red poppies on their chests to commemorate the 1918 peace agreement and the sacrifices of the fallen soldiers. This tradition is not limited to the UK, but is also widely practiced in countries such as Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. In the Vietnam War, the almond tree became a symbol with significant spiritual meaning. In many battlefields and refugee camps, almond trees were often seen as a refuge and shelter, embodying nature's strength and resistance. Furthermore, after the war, almond trees were chosen as a symbol of Vietnam's recovery and reconstruction. Despite the horrors of the Vietnam War, the tree's durability became a symbol of the country's rebuilding efforts and the struggle for independence. The Tunisian Jasmine Revolution of 2010 marked the first spark of the Arab Spring revolutionary wave. It all began in December 2010, when 26-year-old street vendor Mohamed Bouazizi set himself on fire due to unemployment and corruption. This dramatic act ignited widespread anger, leading to mass protests across the country. The demonstrations against years of corruption and political injustice eventually forced 23-year-long President Zine El Abidine Ben Ali to resign in January 2011 and flee the country. In Kyrgyzstan, the Tulip Revolution of April 2005 marked a new phase in the country's political life. Protests, initially sparked by allegations of election fraud, quickly spread across the nation. Thousands of people seized government buildings, demanding the resignation of President Askar Akayev. Unable to withstand the pressure, Akayev fled to Moscow. The Tulip Revolution became a symbol of the struggle for democracy in the region, and the tulip chosen by the protesters emphasized the non-violent nature of the revolution. In Georgia, the Rose Revolution in November 2003 marked the beginning of a new political era in the country's history. Opposition forces, claiming the falsification of parliamentary elections, began mass protests. Protesters used roses as a symbol to emphasize the peaceful message of their struggle, eventually forcing then-President Eduard Shevardnadze to resign. The Rose Revolution became a symbol of democratic movements not only in Georgia, but also in other post-Soviet countries. In Azerbaijan, the carnation flower has become a powerful symbol of sorrow, pride, and remembrance, particularly after the tragic events of January 20th, 1990. During the bloody events of that day, when Soviet troops carried out an assault on Baku, hundreds of people were martyred. Since then, the carnation has been placed on the graves of martyrs to honour the memory of those who sacrificed their lives for freedom. Every year, on January 20th, thousands of people visit the Martyrs' Alley, laying carnation wreaths to show respect for the fallen. This flower not only represents sorrow for the past, but also embodies hope for the future and the spirit of resistance.